Hey guys, it's Mumu. Welcome to my channel. Today we're doing something super duper fun. We're talking about why it's important to love your own artwork. So today I'm doing Draw This in Your Style by Djamilaknopf. I don't know if some of those are silent letters, so sorry if I said her name wrong, but I totally love her art style. She's super duper amazing. When she released this Draw This in Your Style, I was like, I definitely have to do this. But the topic today is why it's important to love your own artwork. When I was actually doing this, I'm still in the process of clearly on my art journey and figuring out what it is, like style-wise, how I want to do it, color-wise. But I'm influenced by so many artists that I tend to lean towards two styles, which is a lineless and one with lines. So this one is going to be with lines. And the reason why I decided to talk about why it's important to love your own artwork is because when I was drawing her and going through this process, I was super duper proud how she came out in the end. I tend to say it a lot, like I'm proud of my artwork. Some people might say like that's not good enough and things like that, but to me I really love it. But this time I really was proud of myself and truly appreciated how she ended up in the end. So I think it's really important to learn to love your own art. I mean, it's very great that you appreciate other artists. They inspire you. Their art looks amazing, almost like a picture, things that are made in dreams. Because I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends, like the way they draw, it inspires me. It's amazing. It makes me wish I knew how to draw like them. And I'm always putting myself, well, not always, but I tend to put myself down like, oh, if you drew like this person, you'd be able to do better. If you colored like this person. And I try to take like pointers from everyone who are willing to give me advice when I ask them, because no one likes to get critiques when you don't ask. But yeah, when I ask them for advice and everything like that. So when I was drawing her, as you could see, the sketches, it's not bad. This was actually going to be a challenge for me because the original, I'm going to insert, it's a straw hat with the sun going on, but I really wanted to play with lighting, which I'm not always comfortable with. Like I use it in a few of my art pieces, but there's sometimes it's a range about how much I want to use and what message I'm trying to portray. So here the reason why I'm talking about it is because I really did enjoy the whole process. In the beginning I was struggling, but when I actually got to the coloring phase and the lighting phase and the whole end piece, as you're gonna see if you continue to watch, that it all comes together in a really nice balance, and it made me really love where I was. I mean, it's nothing compared to the original. It's nothing compared to a few of my friends who did this Draw This in Your Style. Like sometimes I feel like theirs was better, but for me it was more like appreciating where I got to, because before I was at one level, but taking in all this information, learning and trying to apply it, I was able to get the mood I was going for, such as trying to get the light to go through the hat, things like that. We're able to sum it all together and basically achieve the image I almost had in my head, which is basically what most people try to do, is they try to send out the message or an idea that they started with. So the fact that I was able to bring it out and achieve it, it was an amazing feeling. So here I'm saying like, I have these lines and everything, but I still want to be able to play off with the light. As I'm going through this, I'm doing a lot of outlines, even for the straws, trying to make it seem like the flow and everything. I am using a reference for how the head should, like the pose, the front pose, but I also had different references for like if the light was to hit. So it was a combination of a few plus the original Draw This in Your Style that I was going for. So the conversation is why it's important to like your art, Because if you don't appreciate little milestones within your growth, you're gonna feel like you're not accomplishing anything throughout your art journey, and that could be really self-harming. It can demoralize you, thinking you're not good enough, because there are many people who are amazing artists, but then they end up getting down because they don't appreciate the little steps and levels that they're taking. So when I was actually going through this, hit the subscribe and like button. But yeah, when I was going through this and drawing her out, it felt like I would always draw her, but for some reason learning that little light, bling, shine, little effects here and there, adding them, thinking how the sun would play, like here I'm testing out like all these little lights, glitters, everything like that, to see like what will help set the mood. And me being able to play with that lighting helped me really appreciate how much I learned, where I was, and how I got there. So I'm still not at the end of my goal, because there's so many things I want to learn, both in lineless and line art. There's so many things I want to learn about color, shading, highlighting, all of that. But this art piece, the reason why I picked this one to talk about was because this was the one where I actually went, wow, I have improved. I have gotten better. I love this piece. I love how she turned out. I love the, like, some people might be like, oh, there's no message in this. It's just a pretty girl with the sun hitting behind her, things like that. But for me, it was a lot more. For me, it was a bigger thing than just like a pretty girl, because this was one of the art pieces in my art journey that made me realize I am improving, and it made me really love what I was doing. Like, I usually love drawing and everything in general, but sometimes before you post or after you post and you see others that have done the same, draw this in your style, things could be really discouraging. But I was so satisfied with her that even though like my fellow friends who are like godly have done this piece, and in their own styles, like all our styles are different, but we were all able to like post it, share it, and then there were other talented artists I saw. It wasn't as discouraging to see like mine and be like, oh yeah, I didn't do a good enough job. It was more like I got to a higher level than I was before. So that appreciation and love for what I have accomplished was a lot more, a lot more satisfying, and it made me want to continue further to learn. Like, even when I have like minor changes or I'm just testing things out within my art career journey, you know, it still helps to know that I am able to test things. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's okay, because I feel like when you put yourself into one art style, and if that's your art style, it's fine, it's great, you found it. But as a beginner artist, I mean, I started to digitally draw officially two years ago almost now. It's almost gonna be 2 years. So technically in the digital art world, I'm pretty new. I don't know like much what's going on. I mean, I've learned techniques and such, but there's still so much I want to learn. And as a beginning artist, it's like, find your art style so people recognize you, find what you can do, like things like that. And it's a lot of pressure to quickly find something, but it's at the same time you are closing your doors to possible opportunities, which is why when I decided to learn lineless, it felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulder, like another freedom, because I didn't have to be closed-minded to only line art, a certain way of line art. Because I thought, if I only line art this way and made my faces this way, like circular or whatever, then people would recognize my art from mine. But when I started to shift and explore more, I was able to get the message across that I wanted to produce within my art, and I was able to balance like what I wanted to express in one way that I couldn't express in my line art way. So I think it's important to remember that it's fine to be able to test things, especially if you're new in, like, even if it's not digital art, if it's traditional sketching, like all of that, test all type of things. Try doing art styles that you look up to, and then in a way it ends up honing, looking to, it becomes your own eventually. Because even when I transitioned to lineless, a lot of my art friends were like, oh yeah, it's lineless, it looks really cool, this art style really suits you, but they were still able to tell it was me because of, I guess, the way I drew my faces, even if it wasn't like lined out or etched out, or the way I drew my eyes. And as my eyes started to evolve, they started to recognize, oh wow, yeah, your eyes got a lot better, but they could still recognize it was my art style. So I feel like you don't need to fully concentrate at the end of the goal, like find the art style. So this is the part I really like, where the light sort of like flashes through the straw hats. I wanted to mention it because this was part of the big thing that was like, wow, this makes it look so much cooler and better than I used to be able to make things before. So that was a big thing. So like I was saying, instead of like focusing at the end of the goal trying to find out your art style, just concentrate on growing your skills, developing your skills. Take people that that inspire you and try to reflect it. Not saying trace and copy and then play that as your own work. Like, no, don't do that. But learn from multiple people, multiple artists that inspire you, and then don't limit yourself to just one thing. Because in the end, what you learn from one subject or art style, you could always apply it to another, and then your voice will speak out more and more because you learn many things from it. Here I'm doing like a shading, which a lot of my friends told me how they did shading. So this was a big thing. I applied shading, I applied lighting, I applied a see-throughness to her. I lowered opacity. There was just so much going on that I don't usually test, and because of that I felt it really brought out the illustration for me, which made me really be satisfied with her because it just felt like the mood was perfect in this image. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, don't limit yourself, try new things, listen to people. This is the final product. I really do hope you like it. Hope you like this chat, and just learn to love yourself, love your art. Don't compare yourself to other people all the time. It's hard, especially with social media and honestly the pressure with it all. But you know, things aren't always that hard because we're all technically in it together as an art community. And I think that's it for me, and I'll see you guys later. Check out my next few videos. They're pretty cool. I like them. I'm working hard on it to produce more stuff for you, and give me a like, subscribe, notification, all that good jazz, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.